Prior to 20 information, Minnesota Department of Education Youth Apprenticeship program that schools can set up within their school district, as well as the Youth Skills Training Grant are great places for schools to start within your communities. And then the Career Force Partners. We'll share, again, all of this information, and it will also be on the Career Force Workforce Wednesday page. Next, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. Jim Hansen has been the Dean of Business and Industry at South Central College, which is North Mankato and Faribault, for the last 3 years, and has numerous years of experience within the industry. Jim will discuss the Uniquely Abled Academy at South Central College. And what it is it's a non-credit 12-week program for young adults with autism that provides collegiate instruction in machine tool technology, specifically geared towards students becoming a CNC operator. Caleb Watson is here from Mankato Area Public Schools, and he is a career pathway coordinator. The I Am campaign was created in the Mankato Area Public Schools with South Central College and the South Central Perkins Consortium through the Icap grant from the Minnesota Higher Education Service Office. The why behind the campaign is if students see it, they can be it. Next, we have Tim Zapoy. He is a business service coordinator with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services for the past 31 years, focusing on workforce development, business assistance, economic development, and collaboration with education. Tim also serves on the board of directors with the Central Minnesota Manufacturers Association, or CMMA, since its inception in 2010. And today he's going to focus on discussing their initiatives with CMMA, and specifically on the K-12 Navigator, which is a free tool to connect educators and businesses for high school students' career exploration. And lastly, we have Diana Ristamaki. She is a Youth Universal Team Manager, and she works at Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. She has also had the honor of working with individuals with disabilities for more than 21 years. She has been a strong leader in advocating for youth with disabilities to ensure they are receiving the tools and resources needed to be successful while working towards their goals. CMJTS has created a hands-on career exploration camp since 2021, which is called Operation Exploration. Please welcome all of our presenters. So I have quite a few questions for the four of you, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with Jim. First of all, Jim, can you give us a little bit of a quick synopsis, highlighting your program in a little more detail than what I had done, and then just talk about the promising practices of youth and career exploration opportunities with your Uniquely Abled program?
Yeah, you bet, Della. So thanks for having me on. We started to encounter, every employer that we were working with went from we needed people with these skill sets, ... to we just need employees. So we then started to look, how can we find more employees and get them trained for especially in the world of manufacturing. If you know a little bit about individuals on the spectrum, autism spectrum disorder, level 1, everybody's going to be different, obviously, but you do see some tendencies. Some of those tendencies would be having some very finite attention to detail, and enjoying repetitive jobs where it's very difficult to find people to show up on time every day and want to do the same type of skill and job over and over again. Individuals on the spectrum, they kind of thrive in those situations. So we realized that we could marriage the two together, and we reached out. We began making some partnerships with MVAC, MRCI, Vocational Rehab Services, the school districts, and we started to figure out what we needed to do to provide continual wraparound support for these students if they would ever come to do this academy. And we, partnered and partnered and partnered, got as much information as possible. And then we launched it finally this past year. And we used our own faculty. So we used our faculty here at South Central College. We use machine tool technology curriculum, 12-week program. But what we do is we manipulate it to make it more accessible for these students, for these young adults with autism. And the young adults were anywhere from 18 to 27, I believe, this year. And so we have a full-time support staff that's with these students from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Do they have what they need for their lunch? Do they have their homework ready to go? We hired an additional lab assistant so that we would have more one-on-one support when they're actually working in the machines. And here's the kicker, is that if we were going to do this academy, it had to be free. Free for the students and their parents. Zero financial cost whatsoever. And that all goes down to transportation. We had a student coming up from Wells all the way up to North Mankato. And we found the funding to pay for the transportation for them to come up to our North Mankato campus and then get back home every day. So we had to make it free. It was pretty expensive, about $10,000 a student. But we had an innovation grant from DHS. And then we also received some additional funding from our foundation, South Central College Foundation, and we were able to pull it off. And that's by hiring 2 full-time faculty, the support staff, et cetera, et cetera. So the cool thing is that we had 12 people. We're going to start with a cohort of 12, which was pretty ambitious. We started with 12, 11 finished. Out of those 11 that finished, 9 are currently employed as either CNC operators, machinists, or in quality control assurance. So they're in those types of positions. And then 2 that are not currently employed received credit for prior learning by our faculty, received 12 free credits of college coursework, and are currently finishing their machine tool technology program here at South Central College. So all 11 of that finished are, fully engaged, whether currently in industry working or, coming back, and they realize that they're actually good students, which was really cool to see. It kind of got them over the hump, where they don't think that they belong in college, but they really did. They fit in well. And it just took a little extra support and stuff like that. The other thing that we do with the UAA, which is our cool little acronym for Uniquely Abled Academy, is that we actually instruct and provide guidance for the employers. So we did a roundtable via Zoom where we brought in a specialist on autism spectrum disorder to kind of educate people in HR departments in different areas on what to look for, that they may have someone sitting across the table from them who is actually on the spectrum but hasn't told them that they have autism. And it gives them a really good insight as to what could be some possible triggers during the interview, how to help overcome some of these barriers to make it more approachable for someone on the spectrum when they are actually engaging in an interview, to make it more approachable and a little easier for individuals like that. So it helped the students, it helped their families, helps the community, helps the employers, because now they've got a trained individual that just went through a fully accredited community college machine tool technology program that wound up with a NIMS credential, which is the National Institute of Metalworking Skills, I believe NIMS is. So they have an industry recognized credential. They have 12 weeks of college, and they're going into a skilled position. So the manufacturers, the employers are happy, the families are happy, the students were, they were ecstatic. We had a graduation party and they were just ecstatic that they went through and made it through all 12 weeks. And then, you got the employers that are learning along the way that here's an area, this is a demographic that they could tap into. These are not individuals that should just be, working some maintenance jobs, that they have extreme skills, very, like we say, unique skills. They are uniquely able to do this work. So we're excited about it. We're hoping to do it again this summer. I just have to find some more funding, but I got plenty of months to do that. So we're excited to keep this going.
That is awesome, Jim. Congratulations. Now, this is done on a national level. So is this the first program in Minnesota then, Jim,
Yes. So
that you're aware of?
Yep. So the national idea was the Unique Labeled Project. It was out in California. A gentleman who had two adult sons on the spectrum, who happened to work, I'm not sure, it was Lockheed Martin, very high level defense contract. He was an engineer with them, and he created this idea that colleges should reach out and create these unique label academies. So we are the only one in Minnesota. We are the 10th in the country. And they keep popping up. I think the next closest one, there's one in Milwaukee, one in Ohio, but very few in the Midwest. Most of them are on the coasts that have this set up. So everybody does it a little bit differently, but the bottom line is that each and every one is free. Each and every one provides college level instruction. And you don't have to you don't have to have the diagnosis. I should say that. You don't have to have a diagnosis. You may have a job coach, success coach through VRS or MRCI or MVAC that they could come up and say, I have so-and-so that's really interested in industry and manufacturing, but they haven't been diagnosed as being on a spectrum. We're like, that's fine. If you think that they would be great at this job, they need some extra support, they fall in line with having, maybe autism, maybe something similar. Let's get them in the door and let's get them trained up and have them participate. So
wonderful.
So, yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Jim.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to hop over to Caleb. Caleb, can you tell us a little bit more about the I Am campaign? Caleb, I'm not sure if you're on mute.
I thought I unclicked it. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, so sorry about that. First off, thanks
No
for
problem.
having me on. So the I Am campaign, Maps Put Together, is really more of a strategic marketing for students. We want them to be able to, we want them to inspire the next generation of students to see themselves in careers. So our kind of belief that if they can see it, then they can be it, kind of comes into play here. And our hope was to just break down some barriers for students. So we took kind of historically underrepresented populations from careers. So we were looking at like males in nursing, females in automotive, BIPOC students in education, and then we would find candidates that have graduated from Mankato Public Schools, and then we made a poster for them, and we just kind of would put these in the buildings and kind of say, hey, you can do this, this is here, and these are some of the options. So we were able to do that through an Icap funding, and we worked with South Central College and also the SCC, the South Central Service Cooperative, to help put that on. Some of the difficulties, I think that if anybody's looking at doing this or would want to showcase students in this way, was finding students. Some of our students of color, it was really hard to find candidates for that. And that's where kind of our community partnerships and our advisory councils, we really were able to lean on those, getting out there within our partnerships and using that network to say, hey, do you have any students that would fit this bill? We're really one, XY of a student, however that's going to look. And they were able to really help help us kind of bridge that gap. As a lot of people know, when you leave high school, we kind of lose track of our students pretty quickly. But with those advisory councils and those in partnerships, we're able to still kind of keep somewhat tabs on our students.
Excellent. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that, Caleb? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Great. So, and that is for your entire school district, or do you focus specifically on certain grades?
So we're looking at, this is more going to be that 6-12 grade range, but the students that we're selecting have graduated from MAPS and are currently working in the field, where that's the career sector.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And Tim Zapoy, we're going to hop to you next. Tim, do you want to tell us a little bit about the K-12 Navigator and how that came about and where it's at currently?
Absolutely. Thank you, Della, so much for including myself and inviting Central Minnesota Manufacturers Association to be a part of this important conversation today. My name is Tim Zipoy. I'm a business services coordinator here with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. This morning, I'm coming to you from the Monticello Career Force Center. I have the fortune of serving on the board of directors with Central Minnesota Manufacturers Association. That group has been around since about 2008. We've got over 220 members, and we focus really on three pillars. It's educating our members on modern manufacturing practices, we focus on workforce development, and we focus on legislative advocacy. Very happy to talk with you today about our K-12 Navigator tool. It's a tool that we designed, really it was born of want and need and vision. Started that work in about 2019, and really what it's all about is to strengthen youth careers, career opportunities even further. And we're really excited to announce the relaunch actually of our K-12 Navigator program, which is a free online tool designed to connect educators and businesses with high school student career exploration opportunities. And I say relaunch in the sense that that K-12 Navigator tool had originally been focused just on manufacturing careers, but we're very pleased to announce that we've had the fortune of partnering with Otter Tail County to expand our K-12 Navigator to include also additional industries and a much larger footprint throughout central Minnesota. And best of all, we're now going to be able to align that tool with Minnesota Department of Ed's Career Wheel. And so very happy to talk about this K-12 Navigator tool. It was grant funded, and it's really good, actionable information that's easy to use. And Della, I'm just going to walk us through how this works in the sense that for students can use the K-12 Navigator to help find businesses that are willing to offer engaging career exploration experiences. And these businesses certainly will help students explore career fields, clusters, and pathways, and jobs that might interest them. And some of the options then that are available to students, and this is all right on K-12 Navigator, very easy to find, very easy to use, but some of the options for students that K-12 Navigator offers are things like internships, classroom speakers, job shadowing, student mentoring, company tours, virtual tours, either live or recorded tours. We also have options for material donations, some ideas for student transportation funding, student project support, and even some teacher internships. So lots of opportunities and information for students. And then really also it's a two-way street in the sense that it certainly is designed to help employers and address their workforce issues, if you will, and to create opportunities. And we feel that it's a great way to have employers engage future workforce. Certainly is a great tool to use to build a company's future workforce. And it's a great way to increase employee engagement and morale at companies. Certainly is a good way to develop relations with local schools in the area, and a good tool to use to fill hard to fill jobs too, and a great way to invest in local communities. So these are some of the things that students can do, and the kind of the what's in it for me on the employer side of things. And then also for educators. And when we say educators, Della, we're talking about, teachers, guidance counselors, but also it's parents and other influencers. Really, it's anybody that can get audience with young people can benefit from knowing about and using the K-12 Navigator. And it's a great tool that those teachers and influencers really can dial in on locations and career fields and help find the right opportunities for their students. We call it the K-12 Navigator, and you can find it right there at Central Minnesota Manufacturers Association website.
Excellent.
CMMA Works, that is CMMAworks.org. Thank you, Della.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Next, we have Diana. Diana, can you tell us a little bit about Operation Exploration and the camp that you have done?
Yeah, so this past, I would say last 2 summers, CMJTS held 6 innovative 2-week hands-on career exploration camps across all of our 11 counties, and that's what we call Operation Exploration. And the main goal of the camps was to try to really offer a unique opportunity for youth to learn about any of those kind of exciting, high-demand, well-paying careers in their local area. Our target youth population was youth with disabilities, youth of color, and some of our homeless youth. We focused on those in-demand career pathways such as healthcare, trades, automotive, manufacturing, agricultural, or any of those sectors factors and the labor market indicators that were kind of showing that need for skilled workers, really took a look at what our open job opportunities were from our local employers and focused on those type of sectors. So what that hands-on part of camp included is we had businesses come in and do some presentations about their actual business, what kind of work they did, what were the openings that they had, the skills and training that the youth would need to be able to work there. And a lot of them actually provided a hands-on opportunity for the youth to learn that particular trade or career. We went into actual different businesses and did some business tours and did some hands-on activities that way. Did some development of career success skills, classroom training, visiting of union training centers, had the Center of Excellence and Big Ideas, some of those hands-on virtual trailers come out to camp. But more importantly, we just did a lot of hands-on opportunities, and they were amazing. Like, our partners and our employers came to the table. Our manufacturing, the kids learned to weld and bring back some type of manufacturing product that they were able to do. Our automotive, they worked on engines, did oil changes, tire rotations, taking a look at the wiring components of different vehicles. Construction, we built walls, we poured cement, we did rebar, put in electrical, operated heavy equipment. Our healthcare, some of the partners, they would recreate an ambulance scene, and the youth were able to just see every single different career involved in that, accident scene. They were able to build their own cast. Look at pharmacy. It was just amazing. Any activity the employer was able to to provide in order for youth to really learn that career. So it gave them the ability to actually just try on a career while making those important decisions about their future. And then after camp, just depending on the individual need, the youth were set up with a work-based learning opportunity with a local employer, or they were set up with the career pathway for individual training. But overall, the hope was really to get those youth excited about the different career pathways and connecting them, really that soft handoff to those employers in our local areas.
Excellent. Thanks, Diana. So how did you engage the employers to be involved in the organization? And how does that help them with their workforce?
Oh my gosh, we did a lot of knocking on doors and just explaining our programs and talking about the opportunities. But at CMJTS, we also have the unique, we have our business services. So they were able to help us connect with the employers they're working with there. Just made those big connections, our, long-lasting connections. And just for them, it was a recruitment tool as well. They were able to come in and talk about their business, and then not all of our youth go to college. So it was that pathway right out of high school. This is what we do. But a lot of building relationships, that's the biggest thing, building relationships with our employers.
Absolutely. Very good point. About a third of our high school graduates do not go on to college or any type of further education. So great opportunity for them. Great, thank you. Tim, do you want to add any information about how the K-12 Navigator assists the employers in making those connections with students and with teachers? Sorry about that.
I think that you're at, again, I think what you're asking me is what is the value for employers as far as using this tool? And certainly it's a great way to, I think as far as workforce development comes, when it's a good idea to swim upstream in workforce development, and the K-12 Navigator certainly offers a great paddle to swim upstream. So it's a way to engage the future workforce. It's a way to really have, as Diana just was talking about, create relations with local schools and local students and create doorways, pathways, and opportunities. So again, it's a great tool to develop relationships with, and it's a good way to invest in local communities and ultimately consistently talking about filling these hard to fill jobs. And so we have just found it our mission at CMMA has been to be that bridge between business and industry, students and communities. And we have just found this K-12 Navigator to be a fantastic tool. And again, we're just very fortunate to have new partners with us in our work at Otter Tail County, and they've brought another dimension and a bigger footprint, and also better alignment with the work at Minnesota Department of Education and alignment with the career wheel. So we're just really excited to be moving forward with this in a new partnership with some new energy and some new focus, and certainly a really wide goal of being effective a tool to help schools, business and industry, parents, teachers, and influencers.
Excellent. And my understanding is it's starting in central Minnesota, but just gaining ground and hopefully going throughout the state of Minnesota as well.
I would agree with you, and certainly we want to acknowledge, there's Lyft out there and some other great tools, and we're not, professing to be any better than anybody else, but certainly want to be in that toolbox because we all recognize the important work of engaging and inspiring our young people to consider, of course, careers in manufacturing, but now so much more through K-12 Navigator.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. Caleb, do you want to talk a little bit on how you're working with the employers and really practicing on how the IAM program can motivate them as well as the youth with the program?
So the IAM campaign is more of the marketing side to kind of a larger campaign that we have going on in Mankato. And kind of just to wrap that up, we kind of look at more of an explore, experience, and engage model. What we're looking at and how we reach out to community partners and local businesses, anybody who's wanting to kind of become involved with the school, they can meet with myself or Kim Mueller, and we go through and we talk about just different ways like joining advisory committees, learning donations, classroom presentations, job shadows, facility tours, helping out with a class project that may be going on that's directly related to their industry, putting together mock interviews so students are having direct contact with professionals and going through kind of more of that professional environment to help fortify those soft skills. Then, when we start getting into more of that experiences, that's where we're looking at trying to get kids credentials and gain technical skills. And that's, where we see a lot of teacher externships where we're trying to take teachers and put them out in certain industries that are related to the classes they're teaching to see what businesses or those industries are doing currently in those practices. And then those teachers can bring it back and kind of install it into their curriculum. And then when we look at more of that engaging, that's going to be more of our capstone projects with courses and also career internships and apprenticeships. And that's where we're really relying heavy on our work-based learning model and trying to get students out of the building, placed in businesses. And I've heard a couple people talking about this before. When we look at a company, if you look at a manufacturing company, it's not just manufacturing. There's HR, there's accounting, there's sales, all those other things that are going into that. So we like to see our interns come in and just be trying to do a little bit of everything there, because maybe a student was interested in HR and then they start moving through that and they say, maybe I'm not really wanting to deal with people. Maybe I'm wanting to do more with finance, and then they can start focusing on that accounting. So really it's kind of like that broadcasting net of trying to get everybody communicating and kind of working together and trying to get kids to, start that funnel out here real wide. And then we're going to try to narrow them down and get them to those internships or those site visits and those job shadows and things like that.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Caleb. Jim, we're getting lots of questions for you already. How are you working with employers?
So at the school, we're working with employers in a lot of different ways. So obviously, the best and easiest way to get a connection, and it might not be a direct connection to our students, but connection to our faculty, is get on our advisory boards. At South Central College, we're increasing our advisory boards to what's called BILT, the BILT model, which is the Business and Industry Leadership Team. And it's more, they refer to it as advisory boards or advisory teams on steroids. So it's a lot of knowledge, skills, and abilities from industry and how it directly can impact and influence and basically the adaptation within our curriculum here at South Central College. And it's done annually. Spring meeting and a fall meeting. What's the industry trends? What are you seeing? How does that correlate to what we're teaching the students? And then what skills do you want us to be teaching these students so they come out prepared and ready to be the best employees that you can possibly have? So that's probably the easiest way and the best way for our employers to become engaged, is to get on one of those advisory boards in whatever area it may be, machine tool technology, accounting, marketing, you name it. We've got it, those different programs here, and we could desperately need more input and more help. And also what we're finding is, I just met with Shell's Brewery last week. I didn't go there just to drink. I actually did business. And they are looking for some different skill sets in some students coming out. Well, we figured that it'd be really cool if we could take some of our mechatronics or pre-engineering students over to do a tour of their facility to see what it is. It's an old family-ran facility from the late 1800s, to see what it is they're actually doing over there, and compared to some of the newer manufacturers. And so that's another great way to connect with the students. Open it up so our faculty can go show the mechanizations that you're currently using, and then it gets our students into your building, and then you've got a captive audience there for a little bit, and you can talk to them and sell them on what you're doing as an employer. So those are some of the things that I see lately, and they're some of the easiest ways, and it also benefits us as a college, because now it keeps us adapting what we're supposed to be doing and makes it more responsive. I came from industry, and I tell you what, higher ed moves at a snail's pace. It really, really does. It does not move at the same pace as industry. So if we can get that industry to come over into higher ed, to get it more sped up and to be more reactive and adaptive, then it benefits everybody.
Great advice. On that note, what other advice would you give businesses, and where should they start? I know you mentioned built and getting it involved. What are some other things that you would recommend?
Well, we have, Jessica Miller on this call with Deed, has been doing a lot of work with tour of manufacturing. There's a lot of different areas and things like that you can be a part of that will get some students to come around and see your place. I mean, just opening the door, quite honestly. Like I mentioned Shells when I went over there. If you're a student from New Ulm, and New Ulm's one of our higher population areas, concentration around here, students don't necessarily go in there because, they're 18, 19, 20 years old. If they're a, typical student, they're probably not going to want to go on a brewery tour. But then you can see what it is, and it's pretty cool, and you're probably going to get a lot of people to come and want to work for you. So we all know that the demand for labor is high, the supply is low, and you got to sell your business to these people, right? If they can pick wherever they want to go work for good wages. So you got to sell it somehow, whether you got a cool, people in HR that can really sell it. You've got a really nice floor. You got some new, cool machines to work on. You got to find that thing that kind of hooks them in. So, get on these tours, reach out to the colleges in your area, community colleges in the area, to the faculty, to the deans. Open yourself up to say, we'd love to have you come and, do tours, apprenticeships and internships. We're seeing a huge increase in apprenticeships and internships. And so be available and be willing to do that, where you might have to give up 20 hours a week to that new employee to go further their school, but you still get them 20 hours of the week to do work there. So being able to acquiesce and move around and work through things where everybody's here to kind of work together. We all get it now. Everybody sees everybody's problems. So there's a lot of different ways to reach out to the colleges.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Caleb, how would you recommend that employers get more involved, especially with some of the programs that you're running?
Right now, as far as in the Mankato area, we have just a huge outreach to the school for just wanting to get face time in front of students. Our employment rate is extremely low, and then also looking at replacing these skilled workers that are leaving. So I think that the main thing would be reaching out. I think that if businesses just education does it a lot. I did it a lot as a teacher, just cold calling. I hate to say that kind of in that way, but just reaching out and saying, hey, how can we support the schools? How can we get in front of students? Are you guys looking for internship opportunities within these, career pathways? And then more so when they're setting up internships or those work experiences, trying to expose the kids to multiple avenues or multiple facets of their company. Don't kind of lock those kids into one area, because we all know, when we look back, it wasn't too long ago for most of us, we were students. We were coming out of high school. We kind of thought we knew what we wanted to do, but we change. Students change a lot between 18 and 24, and just kind of exposing them to all those areas is a great way to kind of reach out and just make the connections with the schools and offer those resources that are available to you.
Excellent. Tim, wearing your CMMA hat or your CMJTS hat, what would you recommend that employers do?
Oh boy. Well, first off, I consider partnering up with the local Career Force Center and all of our partners here, to include DEED, Veteran Services, and so many others. So be familiar, first off, with the local Career Force Center system and the value therein for business and industry, and certainly for job seekers and communities. But then bottom line, I'm going to selfishly and shamelessly promote K-12 Navigator, in the sense that it's a great tool. And as far as workforce development goes and engaging young people, it's a great time to open your mind, open your heart, open your doors, and open your wallet, so to speak, as it relates to resources. It's so easy for business and industry to go into K-12 Navigator and register your business, and then indicate some of these things that you would be willing to do or want to do to create pathways to engage young people and those that influence them. And so I just think about K-12 Navigator and encourage you to make it yours and make it work for you. It'll create new opportunities. It'll create a valuable return. I think it'll give a business a competitive advantage, and certainly can make your future even better. And then when it comes to Della, thanks for asking about CMMA, and just to say too that not necessarily promoting that trade association, but just very proud to be associated with it, and certainly want to have a red carpet welcome from my conversation to all of those tuning in today. And really, just we're so strong on so many different things in manufacturing and workforce development. Of course, we're the originators and ongoing partners and supporters and participants in the tour of manufacturing. We've got a great what's called CTE Jamboree happening in November. We've got a great partnership. That initiative was born of superintendent of the Belgrade Bruton Alrosa School District, who's also a board member of ours, and just a great way to get educators and manufacturers together. We've got CMMA prides itself on engaging schools and students, in the sense that we offer free membership to all of the schools in and around our area. We've got a lot of different grant programs for our students at those schools. We support robotics and STEM activities. We offer college scholarships. And certainly it's a great way to connect again with business and industry and students and so much more. And also I would want to mention that the CMMA is really good, I think, at partnering up with places like my organization, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, Career Solutions, and St. Cloud, Boys and Girls Clubs, and so many others. You can look to us to be good brokers of connectivity into the community. Thank you, Della.
Thank you, Tim. Diana? How would you suggest that employers get involved?
It's honestly a lot of, I just would relate everything that what everyone else is saying. It's really giving that youth that opportunity for exposure to their particular business. And that's through a lot of what has already been said, doing those business tours, get invited to those job fairs or career fairs at the local schools that you're at, so that you can kind of promote what they're doing, what you're doing. Be on employer panels, be speakers at schools, do mock interviews, get in front of those classes. CMJTS and some of your local workforce development areas can help you do that. Provide work experience opportunities and those internships. even get into applying to be state apprenticeships if you're able to, or providing some of those pre-apprenticeship opportunities. But really just building your relationships with your community partners, and that can be anyone from your schools to the work that we all do, VRS, those types of individual agencies. But the more that you can do those hands-on stuff, that's where youth are really going to learn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to go ahead now and hand it over to James, and he's going to go ahead and wrap up our meeting. Again, thank you all the panelists. Great information. I hope everybody learned a few details that they can take home and put into place.
Amazing conversation, Della. Thanks for putting it all together. And thanks, Diana, Caleb, Jim, and Tim. That was just spectacular. Plenty of things to follow up with. In the same vein, please join us next month on November 2nd for our next Workforce Wednesday, which will be themed DEI's an effective recruitment, retention, and sustainability strategy, focusing on an American Indian workforce. We hope to have an engaging discussion. We've invited a number of very interesting subject matter experts who will help us learn strategies for becoming that employer of choice for Native identifying people. We'll also invite a number of employers to have the conversation with us regarding those real-time practices and learn about state and regional support. So please join us and come with your experiences and ideas, because we're ready to learn from you too. Registration is open for this event, so please make sure and jump on over there. We'll add that into our chat so that you can participate. And again, thank you so much. Please take time, like Della mentioned, to complete the survey that you'll receive at the end of today. That's very important with regard to upcoming Workforce Wednesdays. We'll also be sending you the recording of the event and resources to all of those people who have registered today. Feel free to reach out to your workforce strategy consultant in your area with any questions you may have, or even if you just want to have a conversation. And yes, thank you so much for participating. Thanks, Della.
Thank you. Feel free to join us. We will be doing our Unplugged starting in 1 minute. Great job, panel.